Hi there! For Friday's project, I'm making a welcome sign. I'm going to use simple craft paints. It's a fun project. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. The first step to this project is to prepare the surface of your barnwood round by sealing the wood. This clear coating is what I use. However, there's many other types and brands that do the same thing. You may even have something in your garage that will do the trick. If you skip this step, over time the oils from the wood will seep through the paint even when it's dry, and you'll see stains. I try to use a brush that's dedicated to the clear protectant. That way there's nothing that's going to interfere with the clear coat. You don't want debris in your clear coat. It will change the color of the wood. Now, I am fully aware that this is not a wood sealer, but for these signs it works for me. I'm going to put 2 coats on, and in between the coats I'm going to wait 4 hours. I'm applying the clear coat as evenly as I can. I don't want lumps and bumps to make it difficult for me to achieve a smooth line in my final design. Between coats, make sure to keep your brush in water. This clear protector is like glue, and it will destroy your brush if you let it dry even for a few minutes. Okay, it's been 4 hours. Now I'm going to add another coat and wait another 4 hours. Okay, I've got 2 coats of the clear protector on it, 4 hours between each coats. It's ready to go. I need to transfer my design. So down in the description area, you'll see the traceable if you want to use my design. If you don't want to use my design, just go ahead and draw what you want on here and then fill in like a coloring book. But if you want my design and you need to transfer it and you have carbon paper handy, just put the carbon paper down, black side down, put this traceable over the top, put it exactly where you want it. That looks about right. I'm looking at the edges. That looks about right. And then with a sharp pencil, trace the edges. Make sure to check and see if you're using enough pressure. For now, only trace the outer edge, the round part of the sun, and the main part of the mountain shape. If you do not have carbon paper, no worries. Just take the traceable copy, turn it over, use a pencil to completely cover the paper, turn it back over, and trace the design. The graphite will then transfer to your board. All right, now here it's your choice whether you want to use a large 3/4 inch flat or if you'd like to use a smaller brush. It'll take longer with the smaller, so I'm going to go with this large 3/4 flat. I'm just going to dip it in my background color and I'm trying to just watch that edge, and with the bead that's on the edge of the brush, I'm coming around to get it nice. See how I push the paint up, and move it around on the side of the brush to get a really nice smooth edge. Once you have that, then you can bring it down to make it nice and smooth. Just continue on using the edge of the brush to cut in to your shapes. I'm going to put 2 coats on of the blue, and in between coats I'll dry it a little with my blow dryer. Okay, I've got that layer completely dry, and I'm going to add another coat. And on this one, I'm going to be a little bit more particular about the edges because this is my last and final coat for this color. Okay, I've got 2 coats of the dark blue, and now I'm going to go in with my large brush into the dark green and do the mountains. Now, if you prefer to use the smaller brush, the number 0 flat, it's about 1/2 inch flat. If you prefer to use that one, that'll work too. Again, I'm using the edge of my brush to make a very, very nice smooth line. Following that line slowly and carefully. entire arm. It's hard to see in the video because you can't see my full body. If I use a wrist, it's going to give me wobbly lines. But if I use my whole arm, it gives me a straighter line. So do you see the bead of paint right there? You can see my brush is following the line and that bead's going with it. There you go. Get right in there. Make that happen. And I don't mind that the bead is a little more raised. I don't mind that. I got a little bit of a debris in there. I'm just gonna pick it up with the corner of my brush and wipe it on my plate. I don't want that in there. It doesn't look as smooth that way. It's just, as long as I have quite a bit of paint on my brush, it glides around those curves pretty nicely. There we are. All right, that's the green, and I'm gonna add another coat as soon as it's dry, so let me get that dry quicker with the blow dryer. Okay, that's completely dry. I do want to let you know that when you do the quick dry with the hair dryer, you do want to make sure that some of the thicker areas could be still wet underneath because the dryer only dries the top part, and it does take a bit longer to get the thicker parts dry. So just be aware of that. It could just be dry barely on the surface, and sometimes if you go through that area, it'll take the surface off, and then it'll reveal the wet paint underneath. So just make sure it's completely dry, pretty deep, and it doesn't have to be completely solidly dry, like cured dry. That would be 4 hours or more probably, or maybe with the craft paint maybe an hour. So now it's dry enough for putting the second coat on, so that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, that's done, so I'm going to go ahead and put my brush in water. And make sure you keep them wet until you can clean them at the end of your painting session. You want to be good to those brushes. All right, I'm going to get this dry again, and I'll meet you right back here as soon as this is dry. Okay, now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. This is completely dry. I've got 2 coats blue, 2 coats of the grass green, and now for 2 coats of bright yellow for the sun. So I'm going to go into a smaller brush for a smaller area. And I'm going to go into the yellow, and I'm going to go to do the same thing, put that bead on the side and get it going around for you. And just steady your hand. I'm steadying my hand on the sign. It's completely dry, so that's okay. And I'm just coming around with that bead. You can see that bead on the edge. Watching that bead as I come around the sign. Now, I'm going right over the blue, and I can't see the blue underneath because acrylic paints are, for the most part, they're pretty opaque, meaning you can't see through them. But sometimes with the lighter color over the dark, you will be able to see it when it dries. But remember, we're putting 2 coats, so it'll probably be okay. Just using that corner to get in there. And I can clean that up with the green later. Try to get it a little smoother here. I'm going to get it comfortable so I can come right in here and get it a little closer to my mountain there. Doesn't have to be perfect. But I like the real graphic look of this. And so nice sharp lines adds to that look. And I'll get that dry with the blow dryer. Okay, my sun's completely dry. And let's do the detailing part. I'm going to go ahead and start with blue, light blue. It's called pale blue. And I'm going to show you how to do the snow on the mountains. So get comfy and use that number 2 Princeton brush. Get a good amount of paint on there and turn your sign upside down and just put your brush down and pull into the very top of your mountain. So let me show you. And then this takes practice. So if you want to practice on a paper plate or something first, you may want to do that. If you can't do it this way, you can always just outline and fill in. But this is how I did it. I just put my brush down and pulled toward the top. And as I'm pulling, I'm coming up on my brush. Now I'm going to do that again and again and again until it's completely filled in. Now you can go all the way to the edge if you'd like. I just went ahead and left some of the green show. But if you don't like that, you can certainly go all the way to the edge if you'd like. And then I'm just smoothing it out from there. And do your other two mountains the same way. I want a little bit more blue on the bigger mountain. I think I'm going to go down a little bit farther. It's a bigger mountain, so I'm going to put a little more snow on it. You could use a bigger brush for this mountain. I'm pressing down pretty hard on the brush, and it's splaying out and giving me a thicker line that way. And I'm just smoothing it out softly. Go ahead and rinse out your brush really well. And then go into orange and do the same thing all the way around the sun. I don't have the pattern there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw in. Now you could probably take your tracing, and as soon as this is completely dry, put this over the top again. Just put it right back where it was. You can go ahead and trace the sun rays. But I'm pretty comfortable just drawing around my sun and then just doing the same brush stroke that I did on the mountains on the sun. And I'll show you that. And remember, the chalk will wipe right off afterwards. So I like that. All right, go right into your orange. And the same stroke as the mountains. Get where that brush is going to work for you. And put in your lines. Again, you're going to tap and pull. 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 It's fun, isn't it? Now, as I came out of this stroke, I pull up, and that'll give me a taper at the end. And then that would be enough rays if you like it like that, but I'm going to go ahead and put some in between as well. So I'm using different pressure. On the very beginning, use a lot of pressure, and then I ease up. And on the longer strokes, again, I'm using my whole entire arm. That way it comes out straighter. A little water will take out that little doohickey. All right, there I've got a sun. I'm going to go ahead and dry that really well, and I'll put a couple, just where it got thin on me and I can see the blue underneath, I'm going to go ahead and put another stroke over the top. I'm going to go ahead and put another layer of orange over what I just did. Okay, I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my brush away, and then I'm going to show you how to do the little dots. You're going to want to either have a stir stick or perhaps the back of your brush. The wood part of the back of your brush will also work for this. I'll show you both of those techniques, or even a wooden dowel, anything that will make a dot for you. And all you do is you dip it in perpendicular to your paint, and then you tap where you want it. If you don't get enough on there, just tap again. It leaves a little dot. Show you up close. And I'm just following the line of the sun. You can skip this part, it doesn't need to be there, but it's cute. And it'll repeat the dots that we use in other places on the sign. Okay, now I'm going to dip that in water and wipe that off on a paper towel. Make sure that's real clean so you can use it again the next time. Okay, let's blow dry again. We're going to go into the white, and we're going to make the white over the top of the blue for the snow. We're just highlighting that snow. Again, I'm going to turn the sign around. That's going to give me a better angle to get this done. I'm going to start with the big mountain and just go right over the top, but I'm not going to completely cover the blue. And I'm only going to need one coat. White covers really well. Again, if you don't feel comfortable just painting freehand like this, go ahead and mark it with chalk and fill in. Okay, I've used it so thick, I don't need another coat. And white you usually don't anyway, unless you're starting out with white. And I usually put 2 coats. All right, now let's do the little mountains. All right, there we've got some snowy mountains. So now I'm going to wash that brush out very, very well again. And we're going to get on that lettering as soon as I get this dry. All right, we're ready to do the lettering. This is completely dry, and I'm going to grab my either a piece of chalk or a chalk pencil, your choice. Just going to use a piece of chalk, and I'm going to hand letter my welcome on to my sign. Now, if you need to use the tracing, again, just put it right over the top with chalk instead of graphite. And when you use your pencil, you can transfer the chalk onto the sign, and that will work. The other thing you could do is if you went to a sign place, you could actually have them make you a vinyl with the lettering cut out, and then you take out the areas you don't want. You stick it on, and then you paint and then pull off. That's another thing too. I know Cricut machines can do that too. So there's a lot of different ways you can get the lettering on there. I'm just going to go ahead and hand letter it. I like that look, And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm used to that kind of thing. Now you could pencil it if you want, but the pencil's not as easy to get off as the chalk. So I would just chalk it either with the transfer sheet or just draw it on there. So here I go. I'm just going to draw it. And I think this needs to go up a bit. This too. That too. This a little smaller. There we go. There, I like that. There we go. I like that. And I'm going to go ahead and use that Princeton brush. And I'm going to use my white. And I'm going to get some new white. This seems to be a little bit too dry. So I'm going to get some new white. And then when I do lettering, I usually try to add a little bit of water to it just to get it to flow a little bit better. You'll find that viscosity that you need to make it work for you. And then I'm just going to go over here and letter. I'm used to lettering, so I'm just going to follow that chalk line and do that. Take it slow. This takes practice, but just if it gets a little bumpy on you, just make sure it's evenly bumpy and that'll look just fine. Oops, you can see me dipping quite a bit. I don't usually do all the lettering, with one load. It's just impossible to do. So I break each portion of the letter up into one stroke, individual strokes, like we did the snow on the mountain, and then that works for me. If you want to learn how to letter better, there are artists who do sign painting. They're usually using oil, but if you look at the way they're using the oil paint, you can use it very similar to how I'm doing here. Now where it got thin on me, I'm going to go ahead and go over with another coat. Just in the thin areas. And I'm going to do it pretty quickly because when it's wet, it's easier to do this. It'll blend in with the other paint better. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and rinse that brush out really well. And then I'm going to add the foothill trees with the bright green. The foothill trees are an arrow shape. You just start at the top, come down one side, and then go back to the top and pull down on the other side. As you're pulling, come up with your pressure, and that'll give you a nice tapered stroke. Again, get comfy, and it may help to use your whole arm rather than your wrist. Oh, they're cute. Again, put your brush in water immediately. And let's get that completely dry. Oh, before I dry it, I do want to say there's a couple spots that I see where I somehow dropped some paint and like that little dot right there. I don't know if you can see that. This is a good time to clean that up. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean up those areas. Now, one more thing before I dry my lettering, and this is just completely optional, but again, using that stir stick or handle of your brush or a dowel or something, go into your paint for dots. This one I'm using a stir stick, just for a couple little areas of, just to repeat the dots here. I've got a few dots on the outside. When you're using the stir stick, because it's hollow, you may want to just hold it there for a moment. It makes a perfectly round dot. I just have a few where the cloud dips in. I've just put a few dots. I think it adds to it, but if you don't like that, just leave it out. I didn't get enough paint on that one. I also vary the size of the dot, and you can do that with different tools or with the amount of pressure. So I'm just going to grab my brush and maybe make a couple of smaller dots with the back of the brush. A couple more dots. I don't want to get too carried away with them, but just a few kind of adds to it, I think. There we are. Okay, let's get it completely dry. We're pretty much done, except I want to show you how to wash the chalk off after we're completely dry. I'm back again. I've got it pretty dry, but there's a couple things I saw before I washed the chalk off. I'm a perfectionist in some areas. There was this little bobble up here on the O. On the original sign, it's not there. So I don't know if you want to call it a bobble, but it's a brush stroke I'm not sure is working for me. So I'm going to go in with the darker blue and I'm going to erase it. I think it'll look better without. For some reason my eye keeps on being drawn there and I really don't want that to look like that. So I'm just going to take that off. And this is how to erase with paint. Isn't that handy? And I'm just going to smooth it out so you can't see that I erased it there. Now that may take 2 coats. I'll see. So I'll get it dry and then I'll just kind of look and see if it needs another coat. If it does, I'll go ahead and do that. So thanks for being patient with me on this. I just kind of like things to be exactly so. Okay, I'm back again. I cleaned things up a little bit with my, what I call paint erase. And now I'm going to show you how to erase the chalk. So there's some chalk residue that didn't get covered with paint. No problem. I'm going to moisten a rag or towel with clear water. I just need it damp. I don't need it drenched. And make absolutely certain this is completely dry, otherwise you'll get some smears. And I'm just going to go ahead and a couple times wipe this. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and blow it with a blow dryer. Okay, I've got everything dry. I cleaned up all my areas. And now I'm going to coat the surface with the Valspar Clear Protectant. Now after I put one coat, I'll wait 4 hours for it to dry, and then I'll go ahead and put another coat. There's other things out there that you can use. There's also a polyurethane gloss varnish, DuraClear. You could also use this It's made by Americana. This is something I have on hand because I paint murals, and I like that it keeps the sun from fading it. And it also is a non-yellowing formula, which I also think DuraClear is also non-yellowing. So, you choose what you'd like, but those are the things I use. I'm just trying to put a nice even coat, and I'm trying to get those brush strokes out. But after 4 hours, I'm going to put another coating over the top. Each time I want to make it very, very smooth. Okay, I'm back. It's been 4 hours. I'm going to put another coat of the UV protectant. That's the Valspar Clear Protector. One more coat of that, and then another 4 hours. This time I'm going to do a lot of the sides as well. It's got a really rough bark side to it. I'm going to go ahead and do a lot of that too. I'm just going to make certain that when I do the bark side that I don't come back up on top of it. That way if any of the bark comes off, it doesn't get into the finished surface design here. Right, I'm going to call that good. Go ahead and just very carefully do the sides. And that'll make it weather better. Okay, now I'm back again. It's dried for quite some time. I'm not sure if it was 4 hours, but it's been a while. I'm going ahead and turn it over. I've signed the back, and I was just going to put one of these combs on here to make sure that Beth has some way to hang it. And I've just got, they come with these little nails, and I was just going to put those on there with this little hammer, and then it'll be ready to hang. Definitely more of a painter than I am a hardware construction type person. So if you're like me, you may have to get someone to help you with that part. But I got her done, and now it's ready to hang. So I hope you've enjoyed this project, and I hope you do many of these for all your friends. I'm sure they would appreciate it. And this is going to Beth, and Beth, thanks for wanting something from me. I'm really happy to have made this for you, and I can't wait to hear about how well it goes in your Montana house. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time.